was programmed from birth to be part of the most invincible army in history. But like all scientific advancements,
they're practically manufactured using DNA profiles.
he was destined to become obsolete.
More endurance, better hand-eye. It's a whole different standard.
What do we do with him?
Waste disposal.
His training had prepared him for anything except this. Now, on a remote planet, a community of outcasts faces extermination.
I want that planet secured by 0600.
Well, what about opposition?
They will be officially classifiable as hostiles.
Find weapons and prepare to fight.
You have to organize us.
For this soldier, it may be too late to feel human.
How do you know they'll be back?
Because they're soldiers like me.
But it's never too late to be a hero.
I'm going to kill them all.
Kurt Russell. Soldier.
Hello, hello. I'm Katie, and welcome to Retromade, your pop culture rewind. Today, we're going to go back to October of 1998. What a great year. For a science fiction action movie that is Soldier with Kurt Russell. And here's what I think about it. I would describe it as Universal Soldier meets Rambo in space. That's how, because I'd not seen it before. So, and as always, we will touch on all the other happenings of the time in the time capsule. And today I'm happy to have a returning guest with me, Zoe Richardson from the Backlook Cinema podcast. And you had a feeling I would like this movie, didn't you? Like this version of Kurt specifically, didn't you?
Yeah. And in this movie, he looks as good as he's ever looked before. So I felt that's a plus in your favor. Also, you enjoyed Soldier. I mean, not Soldier, but Universal Soldier. You enjoyed that one.
Yeah.
And the reason you enjoyed it was because it's basically just some guys fighting, right? Mm-hmm. The science fiction element is very limited in that movie. It didn't have to be that backdrop. So the overarching story was something that you can get into. Mm-hmm. So I felt like this is a little bit harder. It's saying a little bit more. It's a little bit more into the science fiction aspect, mm-hmm. but still it's a very simple story. I felt that because there was a sufficient amount of action in this story, I thought that you would enjoy it. So what did you think?
Yeah. And Kurt he looks just really good in this movie. He's 47 though. We'll get to that. But yeah, so Zoe, thank you so much for joining me. Remind us about Backlook Cinema.
So Backlook Cinema, the podcast, is the podcast where we take a look back at the movies of yesteryear. I especially concentrate on the movies of the latter half of the last millennium. So like the 70s, the 80s, and 90s. So we kind of cover the same time period. I just really want to go back and talk about the movies that we all enjoyed and back in those times. And I like to talk about our favorite parts of the movie, talk about the trivia. I have a bunch of guests on. I had you as a guest a couple of times, so that was awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we talked about Universal Soldier.
Right. We had our Universal Soldier episode, and I was so excited that you agreed to do it because I know that's outside of your preferred style of movies, but I'm going to drag you kicking and screaming into the science fiction genre.
Well, I think you figured out how to get me there, and it's attractive men have to be in it.
Yeah.
So that's how I will watch them. Yeah. Okay. So to set the stage for our conversation today, we're going to open the time capsule from October of 1998. And let's see, I am a senior in high school. October. Yeah. Cause I graduated in 99. So some good memories there. And from a TV perspective, we did already cover this season in the Black Dog episode with Patrick Swayze. So I did share with Zoe what the top shows were. Zoe, do you have any show that you want to comment on?
You had a lot of great shows here, and you also had a bunch of shows that, like, I watched like maybe a couple of episodes of, but really wasn't watching regularly. Or there were shows that my family watched, and if I happen to be there, I'll watch it. So I did watch a few episodes of Seinfeld. I think of all the shows that I didn't watch regularly, I probably watched that one the most.
Okay.
I watched a few episodes of ER. I watched maybe one episode of Friends.
Are you serious? One episode of Friends? It's so good.
If that, yeah, I've been told it was good, but I just like more often than not, I would just see like clips of Friends, but I would rarely watch an entire episode. I have seen a few episodes of Touched by an Angel. That's one of those shows that my family was more into than I was. But
I never saw that one. I mean, I'm aware of it, but I didn't watch that one.
Well, what's similar to Touched by an Angel, they had a lot of these like Christian religious shows when I was growing up, right? So is that one? And then there was another one called Highway to Heaven, with Michael Landis. Do you remember that one?
Vaguely. And then there was that like Seventh Heaven one too. I feel like that was Christian-y. Maybe.
Well, that was more like a church type feel. When I'm talking about like supernatural Christians, where like Touched by an Angel was angels actually on earth and affecting humans. So that was one. I'm Touched by an Angel. Like I watched maybe a couple of episodes of those, but it was just because the family was watching. It was like Dallas. It was like, I'm not watching Dallas, but my family was watching it, so I'll be there. It was like, where else am I going to go? We have one television.
Well, here's the deal. You have been introducing me or trying to like bring me along this sci-fi journey, even though it's not my jam.
Right.
But we need to remedy your not having seen Friends. So report back.
Right. Well, I get the gist of Friends.
No, it's so good. Come on.
Yeah. Also, Home Improvement, I may have seen a few episodes of those. Just Shoot Me, maybe a couple of episodes of those. Like, it has one of my favorite comedians, but it wasn't something I would watch regularly. A lot of these shows were competing. So if Just Shoot Me was going up against the X-Files, it's like the X-Files 10 out of 10 times, right?
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
And so of all of these shows, X-Files was definitely my jam. I watched it, I think, up until David Duchovny kind of left the show, and the show was like kind of losing its footing. It was kind of couldn't decide what the kind of show it wanted to be, because it's like for me, and I think for most audiences, the show was clearly over. It had run its course, but the network
did it continue with just Gillian Anderson?
No, it was she got a new agent. His name was John Daggett. He's played by, I forgot his name. He played the Terminator 2. Patrick something Patrick. I can't remember his name. But anyways, it continued on a little bit with that character, and then they finally canceled the show, because it was like back in the day television, they didn't have a set period where the show was going, how long the show was going to last. Not nowadays. Most of these shows are kind of like they're planned from the first season to maybe the fifth season or sixth season or something like that. They're designed to expire because they want to tell complete stories instead of just letting the show go on and on like they did back in the old days. We're going to keep riding this bike until it falls apart. So that was the X-Files.
Yeah, it's kind of too bad when that happens. Like you want to go out on top.
Yeah. And I think that's what Seinfeld did. Seinfeld was like very popular. They wanted more seasons of Seinfeld, but Gerald's like, nah, I think we should end here, because he didn't want to end up like those other shows.
Exactly.
So he did well. And Friends was probably one of those shows. I'm not exactly sure since I didn't watch it. Do you know if it ended on a high note, or was it something where it just felt like they just stopped it?
I think it was 10 seasons, and honestly, it probably should have ended after 9. Right. It went maybe one season too long, but I still really liked that season.
Yeah. A show that really runs into a problem like that are like any show that has to do with kids going to college or family shows. So like when the kids growing up, it's like now they're adults, and now what do you do with these characters? So you see the writers kind of running into trouble when the kids are grown.
Yeah, then they like introduce like, oh, let's have another baby, or that tends to be
it just gets weird.
Yeah, it does.
That's usually what happens. They introduce another baby. I remember there was a show that I really liked. I'm trying to think of it. It was a recent show. It's called Blackish. So it was a show with,
they had a baby. Yeah.
Well, I
Yeah.
don't remember. Oh yeah, they did have a baby. But I don't think that they did that as a thing to keep the show going, because they still had 2 young kids in the show, right? That they had not yet graduated. They were the twins. So,
Jack and Diane.
right, which is awesome. But
the 2 older kids, like the girl was no
You're
longer
right.
in it. Like the
Right.
oldest
the
daughter
oldest,
was-
right?
yeah.
The oldest daughter was no longer in it. She went to college and she had a spinoff show
Yeah.
called, I think her show was called Grownish. And
Uh-huh.
you had the son, he was taking like a skip year or whatever you call that. And so
Gap
he
year.
decided not to go to college right after he graduated. So they still had the family dynamics going. And then it's really the network that had decided to cancel us. I don't know if it was to do with the audience numbers or it was like they weren't feeling it was being as creative as it could be. So but
Yeah,
back to
that's
the X-Files. Like
yeah.
I said, I was full on Supernatural. That was my jam. And I think, have you ever seen the X-Files?
Not like religiously. Like I'm aware of it and I've seen a few episodes, but that's not one. You know me, I'm not a sci-fi person.
Right. Well, I don't know how you feel about it exactly, but what I thought that you might like it because it's not like you have one person who fully believes in supernatural stuff and you have his partner who does not believe, like she's a skeptic, doesn't believe in anything. Now, obviously, by the end of the series, she's now fully believing because she's seen too much for it not to be real for her. But I like how they handle like supernatural stuff was kind of is closer to, I guess, something like the Twilight Zones. Like you have stuff happen, but they wouldn't always like in the episode kind of explain the supernatural thing that happened. They would make it so that it could be explained by something natural or something like that. And they would very rarely show you like the monster or the thing that the episode was about. So sometimes it will show you the monster and sometimes it's just something mysterious happen and you wouldn't get any clear answers. So, or you like, and when you do see the monsters, the characters don't have any evidence that the monster ever existed. So it's not something that they can prove. It's just something that they saw, but they can't write it down in the report. So,
You know, I hear good things about that show and I like both of those actors and I feel like I would like the show. I just have never, there's so much. And you know, I think it lost, like I didn't watch it in its original run and I just, for whatever reason, never went back to it. But yeah, I like that.
Yeah, so out of all of these shows, that was my main jam. That's what I was into.
All right. Well, the top 10 music, the billboards for the week of October 23rd, 1998. It's just wild. It's very high school. I'm like, oh, I can picture what I was doing when this was a big song. Okay, so the first one, though, the number one song is by Monica, and I like Monica. The song is The First Night.
You know, it's funny. You mentioned the title, and I can't think of the song. I can't think of the melody or anything like that. I'm pretty sure that if you start playing that song, that I would know it.
I was thinking I should make a move, but I won't. I should be thinking something is wrong. Knowing if I knew that it won't be right, I don't get down on the first night.
The number 2 song, this is one of those that it got way overplayed, and I'm annoyed by it. It's 1 Week by the Bare Naked Ladies. Do you know that one?
I would probably know it if I heard it. Again, that's another song. I can't think of it by the title.
And then I think, so there's a Chris Tucker, Jackie Chan movie. Oh, what was that one called?
Rush Hour.
Yeah. So I think this next song is from that. How Deep Is Your Love by Drew Hill featuring Redman.
Yeah.
I recently just saw Redman. He and Method Man and Atmosphere were at Red Rocks.
Yeah.
So I went like last week.
Oh, you saw them live. You saw them in person.
Yeah.
Awesome.
They were just here. Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen Method Man. He's been in a couple of TikTok videos with this creator. The creator calls himself something the Stallion.
Oh, what was that outer space movie with Bruce Willis and Liv Tyler?
Armageddon.
Yeah, Armageddon. Yeah. Okay. So that was like a huge movie, and Aerosmith did the sound, like the big song from that movie was "I Don't Want to Miss a Thing," and it was it was the number 4 song for this particular week. I really like Aerosmith, but I don't love that song.
You know, it's funny that you should say that because I'm exactly the opposite. I know very little about Aerosmith, and that was my introduction to Aerosmith. Like I was familiar. I was familiar with the group. Like I was
Mhm.
cognizant that they were a thing that was very prominent in the culture, but I didn't listen to rock and roll music. I didn't listen to rock music. I didn't listen to metal or hard rock. So I wasn't
You got to
that
go to the classics. Dream On is the best, in my opinion.
right.
Yeah.
I started to learn more about them, but for a different reason. But I think that Armageddon was my introduction to him, and I have to say it's one of my favorite Aerosmith songs.
Oh my god, yeah. I don't like that like late '90s era.
I think that it's because it's more of a ballad. It's a rock ballad, and maybe you're not as cotton to rock ballads. But see, I listen to
I like a rock ballad. I like.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I listen to R&B, a lot of R&B music. So that is very close to R&B songs. So that's where I really like it. But I think I got more familiar with them because of a video game called Rock Band. So there's a Rock Band has a lot of their music. And then there was a special Aerosmith edition. I don't know if I played that one, but I think the Rock Band version that we had, they had a lot of their songs. Even though I didn't really get familiar with those songs, I liked the music
they're like
that
one
I
of the
heard.
biggest rock bands like ever.
I know.
You know, I mean, come on. So Jennifer Page means nothing to me. I don't know if she was a one-hit wonder, but she is the number 5 song with Crush. And I think, it's like, it's just a little crush.
It's just a little crush. Not like I fade every time we touch. It's just some little thing. Not like everything I do depends on you.
Edwin McCain has the number 6 song with I'll Be. Talk about a ballad. You know that song, right? Edwin McCain, I'll be. I don't know the words, but it's like, we belong together. It's annoying. I hate it. I don't like it because it played on the radio nonstop so in high school, we're like in our cars driving around. Like I'm with my friends, like we're driving around doing whatever. And it was always on. And
Is this an R&B song or is it a rock song?
I don't know.
Or is it like more of a pop song?
It's like a pop song.
I probably know this one.
Yeah, I know you do because if you listen to the radio at all, like you couldn't avoid it. Like it was always on.
Right.
Played way too much. Now I am not a country fan, but again, like The Kiss by Faith Hill, again, like it crossed over to more like it's like a mainstream country song. And it's pretty good, I guess. But again, it got played out. Like they overplay these songs and then I'm annoyed by them and I don't want to hear them again.
That's how they did on the radio.
So the band 98 Degrees. It's one of those boy bands.
Yeah.
From the late 90s. Well, I did not know that originally there were 4 of them. Because when I knew of them, like Nick Lachey and the 2 other ones, there was 3 guys in it. But apparently there was 4 at one time. And they had the number 8 song with Because of You.
Right.
And then, so there was a lot of very typical R&B songs at this time too. It's sort of like a templated. Anyway, this next one is a girl group that I've never heard of called Escape with an X, like Escape.
Okay.
And the song is called My Little Secret. Girl group.
I do know Escape. There's one of my favorite groups. I think I have all of their albums, or I know I have more than one album of Escape. And there's actually a debate that I heard as to whether or not Escape is actually better than Destiny's Child. So that's a wonderful debate.
Oh, shit.
They're really good. I really enjoy them. So, yeah.
So, My Little Secret. It was the number 9 song this week. And then the number 10 song was also a girl group called Divine. Again, like typical of the time R&B girl group, but it's a tad more familiar to me anyway. And the number 10 song was called Lately. I feel like the late 90s was really big for girl groups. Like I remember Black, spelled with a Q.
Yes.
And Bring It All to Me featuring NSYNC. I loved that song. And then 702.
Yeah.
Where My Girls At?
Right.
That one. Yeah. Like I loved those 2 groups.
And that's definitely a song that they tried to play out. I never got tired of it. So that's amazing.
I will jam out if I hear that song. I'll sing it all. Yeah. No, I liked those girl groups.
Yeah, absolutely. And then of course there was the old school girl group. What's their name? See, I had a line of thought.
Like
I can see them in
That's
what I was thinking about.
The best one is TLC, in my opinion. They were awesome, but
definitely a classic group.
All right. Well, that's music. What was happening in the news, do you think, Zoe? This is interesting. 1998, Vladimir Putin became the permanent member of the Security Council of the Russian Federation. In 1998, and he's still in power. That's insane.
Well, I don't think he was president yet, was he?
Maybe not until the next year.
Right. So he was just a member, like the permanent member of the Security Council.
Yeah, but I think he was president in like 99 or something, like early 2000s. Like he's been in power for a very long time.
Oh, yeah. He's either been working behind the scene or he's been up front in power. Mm-hmm. And so it's, that I guess my guess is that Russia is functioning as a dictatorship and it's disguised as a democracy.
Oh,
so
certainly. Yeah, they have elections. Yeah.
And the opponents or anybody who challenges the president is mysteriously found dead somewhere, or they're sickened, or they have to flee the country.
That's not like a healthy democracy at all.
Right.
No, it's definitely not a democracy. I had kind of forgotten about this, but it did make big news. And there's like TV movies and maybe an actual movie, but Matthew Shepard was killed. So he was the gay student at the University of Wyoming. And he was found tied to a fence after savagely being beaten by two young adults in Laramie, Wyoming. This was October 98. So that's like super sad news.
Yeah, that was nationwide.
Yeah. Let's see, House of Representatives. Oh, I remember this being, okay, this is the Bill Clinton impeachment era. October 1998. The House of Representatives votes to begin impeachment hearings against President Bill Clinton on charges of lying about his affair with Monica Lewinsky.
Right, which is a weird thing to try to preach a president for.
It's like because funny now. Because like, look at, look at what some of our leaders are doing now. It's wild. So I didn't know this name, but the 1996 Olympics in Atlanta, there was the bombing at the Olympics. Do you remember that?
I think I remember something about it now that you're mentioning it.
Well, so this is 2 years after that. And the guy, Eric Robert Rudolph, is charged with 6 bombings, including the 1996 Centennial Olympic Park bombing in Atlanta. Also the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, 98. Again, like, wow, things seemingly are like the same. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu in 1998.
Right.
And Palestinian Chairman Yasser Arafat agreed to the Wye River Memorandum, resuming implementation of the stalled Oslo II Accord, which established a level of self-government for Palestine, signed at the White House. I don't think I realized that in DC. I don't think I realized that.
Yeah, there was the conflict just never seemed to stop.
No.
So we're still kind of, it's been a major part of the current election. So it's amazing that the same people are still like involved with, at least Netanyahu. He's still in, is a very influential figure regarding those events. And the funny thing about it is that he's facing criminal charges, and yet he's still in charge of the country. It's amazing. The turn of events.
Yeah. I mean, I remember when, it's just wild. Like what passes for scandal now is like versus, I remember when Barack Obama wore a tan suit. That was the most scandalous thing he did. Wearing a tan suit, versus other wild things that are happening.
Right. Yeah, because they had nothing on him, right? They want to criticize him for something. They had nothing on him. It's like, look at him. He's wearing a tan suit. That's not presidential. And there have been numerous presidents, and both Republican and
Mhm.
Democrats who have worn tan suits.
Yeah, I
Because
know.
tan is a fly color, especially at a certain time of year. And they're just
Yeah.
pretending that it's a thing, right?
Yeah.
They're making something out of nothing. And
Mhm.
it gets super annoying. It's so superficial and nobody sees it. It's crazy.
Mhm. Also in October 1998, I don't remember hearing about this, but regarding apartheid in South Africa, the Truth and Reconciliation Commission presents its report, which condemns both sides for committing atrocities. Do you remember hearing about this? I don't.
No, I haven't heard about that. I didn't even realize that there was a so-called Truth and Reconciliation report. It's weird to say that, oh yeah, atrocities were committed by both sides. Oh,
I know.
You mean the overarching, incredibly powerful government with a heavy hand on how they dealt with their citizens? That is what you're saying?
It's funny because I'm in high school, so I didn't care about, my world was very small when you're
Yeah.
17. And so a lot of this stuff I didn't really remember. Also, there were like more than one hijacked planes in the same month in October 1998. Turkish Airlines by Kurdish militant on their way to Switzerland, and a disgruntled Chinese pilot en route to Taiwan, both in October of 98, hijacked planes.
Yeah. That was the thing that people did. There were a lot of planes that got hijacked. It seemed like maybe once every couple of months, you'd hear about a plane hijacking on the news or a threat of a hijacking.
Really? I see. Yeah.
It
Again,
just,
I
it
wasn't
just
watching.
felt
the news.
like, I'm probably exaggerating. It just felt like a lot.
A lot. Okay. I guess I didn't realize that. So the space shuttle Discovery blasts off with 77-year-old John Glenn on board, making him the oldest person to go into space. He was 77.
Wow. That's
John
unfair.
Glenn.
That's unfair to John Glenn.
I mean, hey, he holds a record.
Right.
All right. So a couple people got married. I kind of forgot that Matt Lauer existed. But the Today Show co-host Matt Lauer was his second wife in October of 1998, and she was a Dutch-born model. And they got divorced in 2019.
You think he locked in a room and wouldn't let her out until she agreed to marry him?
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's fine that he went away. Punky Brewster was one of my favorite shows growing up, and Soleil Moon Frye played Punky, and in October of 1998, she wed Jason Goldberg, who was a producer and actor, but I don't know who that is. And they divorced just a couple years ago in 22. So they stayed married for quite a while. I mean,
they had a good run.
Yeah, they did. So we already talked about Matthew Shepard. In addition to his death, there were some other famous people. Okay, so I didn't know who Roddy McDowall was, but he is like the Planet of the Apes, Cleopatra, Lord Love a Duck, British actor. Do you know who he is?
Yeah, one of my favorite roles was he was the vampire hunter in Fright Night, the original.
Okay.
Yeah. And he did a lot of voices on animation, and he has a very distinctive voice. So he's been on a lot of Hanna-Barbera cartoons. So whenever you hear it, it's like, oh yeah, that's the guy. Because it's not like you can hide he's not trying to hide his voice. It's like he sounds like what he sounds like. So when he's in a cartoon, you kind of know who that is.
I love Hanna-Barbera cartoons.
Yeah, and there were a number of actors who were like that. Like Casey Kasem, he was like that. He's been in a bunch of Hanna-Barbera cartoons.
Yeah? I mean, among others. Wasn't he the voice of Shaggy in Scooby-Doo?
Yes, he was Shaggy, and he was Robin. Those are the two that I remember.
Oh, he was Robin. I don't think I knew that. Okay.
Yeah, and a lot of the older Batman and Robin cartoons, or he was in the Super Friends, he was usually doing the Robin voice.
Okay. Good tidbit. So John Postel probably doesn't ring a bell with anyone, but I did note his death because he was the American computer scientist, apparently known as the god of the internet. And he was only 55 when he died from heart surgery complications in October. Yeah. Also, Barnett Slepian is an American physician murdered in Amherst, New York, in his home by anti-abortionist James Charles Kopp. I think I remember hearing about that. Doctors at clinics being murdered by anti-abortion groups.
Yeah,
And
I think
then-
I've either heard about that or heard something like that happening.
And then on a similar note, the founder of Planned Parenthood, Mary Calderon, she was 94 though. She died of natural causes.
Right.
Yeah. All right. Well, so we're going to be talking about Soldier, and it didn't do well. So it was number 14 at the box office in October. But some of the big movies at the time, Ants was the number one movie in October, apparently, in 98. Rush Hour, What Dreams May Come, Practical Magic, A Night at the Roxbury, Ronin, Bride of Chucky, Urban Legend, Beloved, Pleasantville, and There's Something About Mary. And it was actually released in July, but it was still topping the box office in October.
Yeah, those were the days when movies could stay in theaters for months at a time.
Months. Yeah. Yeah. Like now it's maybe
even the ones that are highly successful, it seems like they're only in the movies. If they last a month and a half, it's incredible because studios want to pull them out of the theaters and put them on streaming like as soon as I guess the box office drops below a certain number, they'll pull or not even pull out of the theaters. They'll leave it in theaters, but then they'll make it available for video on demand. And I was thinking about this, and my thought is that when they add it to the streaming services, it's not for free, like right away. Usually you gotta pay for it. You either gotta rent it or you gotta buy it. And a lot of times you have to buy it. There's not even a rent option. And typically it's like around $25, $23 to buy these films. And what I was thinking is that because theaters start making more money the longer a movie is in the theater, and the studio makes less money after a few months, they're barely making half. So I think that it's like, since we're only making half anyway, we might as well just put it on a streaming service and then charge people, because in this way people are discouraged to go to the theater. It's like, it's at home, it's on video, might as well just sit home and watch it instead of going to the theater where I'd have to pay more money. And I think that's the logic behind them putting it on streaming so soon.
I mean, yeah, it's just like, unless you're like really into going to the theater for the theater experience.
Yeah.
It's like a disincentive. Is that a word? Because like for me, I'm like, well, I maybe I kind of want to see the movie, but I'm like, well, in a week it'll be on Netflix. So might as well just wait. Yeah.
That, especially if it doesn't do well. But I think you would have to make an insane amount of money for them to pull it out too soon. So Deadpool and Wolverine, that's still in theaters. It's not yet available for streaming in any way. So, and I think it is a testament to how well that movie is doing. And people are going to see it multiple times in theaters. So I think that a movie like that is now that how that used to be normal is now an anomaly.
It is. And it's only those big like Marvel movies. That's like the only thing seemingly. I know I've said this like a million times, but it annoys me because there's no risks taken anymore. Those are like the only things seemingly in the theater. And I don't like it because I never go to the theater because I don't really care.
Well, I don't believe it's that it's only happening with Marvel movies. Even Deadpool, for a superhero movie, is an anomaly for it to, at least now. Before,
that's true.
It was like, it seemed like every other Marvel movie was making $1 billion. But then after, lately it's been harder and harder for these movies to make that level of money. And Marvel has had a few flops. And it is because of several factors. It's COVID pandemic, it was the actors and writers strike, and it was also the fact that their movies were bombing at the box office, that they decided, well, we're going to slow down. So this movie, Deadpool and Wolverine, is the only movie that Marvel had put out this year.
Oh, I don't realize that. Okay.
They won't put out another movie until next year, and they have these huge plans and whatnot. We'll see how that happens. And it's given a chance for other types of movies to flourish, particularly horror movies. But I don't think it doesn't seem like horror movies actually ever went away. It's like they've always been there.
That's true. I assume that you watch the superhero movies. Do you feel like they like oversaturated the market with them and now they're like correcting that a little bit or not?
Well, they're only really like a couple of studios that are really into making superhero movies. So that's Warner Brothers and Disney. So, and it's with any like style of movie or with any genre. Once you like have a successful movies, you kind of get copycat movies. So if somebody puts out like a really successful Western, then you're going to have like other studios trying to put out their Westerns. If there's a really funny comedy, then another studio is going to put out a similar style of that particular comedy. So I think that's what happens. So, you know, Marvel or Disney put out successful superhero movies, and that was like, well, you know, we made so much money from this, we got to keep doing it again. And it's really the audience's taste. They're trying to cater to what the audience is responding to. The Hollywood is very reactive, and that's why you don't see like a whole lot of creativity, because you don't see a whole lot of musicals now, because audience tastes have changed, so they're not making as much money from musicals, so they don't make as many musicals. But an action movie like Fast and the Furious, which is kind of like over the top action movie, that still makes a lot of money. So you have a lot of studios trying to make that type of action movie. Or like you have the John Wicks, or there was a new I guess you can call it like the start of a new franchise. So Jason Statham was in a movie called Beekeeper. So I don't know if you've seen that one, but again, that's something where it was like wildly, I don't know if it's wildly successful, but it was a lot of wild action. So and there was a lot of positive response. So, I mean, studios are really trying to put out movies that audiences are responding to. And that's what happens, is that, you know, their audiences have been responding to superhero movies, and now they're not as strongly anymore. And until Deadpool and Wolverine came out. And I think that really shows us that audiences are just responding to good stories, or at the very least responding to being entertained, since Deadpool and Wolverine has been accused of having a very thin story.
Oh, really? I haven't seen it.
Yeah. But also, and then there's, you know, the story shows on television that are very cinematic, that are so well produced and well made that they look like they would look good in theaters.
That's
and there are a lot of superhero shows on television that are wildly successful. So it's like, it's hard for me to say that audiences are tired of it, because it's not across the board. It's just that they are not responding to the stories that they don't find appealing, or that they are not resonating with. And so it's like, if they're not feeling that story, they're not going to go. And if you put out a movie with a great story, or is vastly entertaining, then they're going to go. And so it's always kind of a crapshoot. It's just that some movies theaters have a better chance, or think will have a better chance of succeeding than others. Like theaters feel like, or studios feel like they'll have a better chance putting out a sequel than putting out like an original story.
Yeah, it's very clear.
Right. They both have an equal chance of failing, but they feel like because it's a sequel and this, you know, that you have the same actors, the same producers, or the same director, or something of that nature, then they feel they got a better chance of repeating the success of a previous film, or in the case of remake, repeating the success of the previous movie.
Yeah, I concur.
I'm just guessing, though.
Well, all this talk about movies, let's talk about Soldier. Let's get into it. It is rated R, and like I said, so it came out October 23rd, 1998, and I did find a note about it being rated R. So apparently, when it was first submitted to the MPAA, the movie got an NC-17 rating.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, so a fair amount of violence had to be cut down from it to get it to the R rating. So, for example, the eye gouging scene in the fight when Todd like gouges Kane's eye in the beginning, that was like very heavily cut. Apparently, it was way more violent than what we got.
Right.
Yeah, but
special effects were entirely too good for that scene.
Yeah. Okay. So this season with Kurt and Patrick, I'm kind of down to some of the lesser known, or not as some of the lesser known movies, and so I feel like the IMDb rating for literally the last 5 or 6 seem to be hovering in the 6-ish range. And this is not an exception. It is a 6.0 out of 10. And the director here is Paul W.S. Anderson, and the name sounds very familiar. He also directed the Mortal Kombat movies, Resident Evil, Death Race, and apparently he produced The Three Musketeers.
Yeah, I must like this director because I feel like every time, and I'm not conscious, like when I go to a movie, I'm not always conscious of who's directing it. Like I wasn't conscious of who the director was when I went and saw this movie. I just thought, oh, it's Kurt Russell and he's fighting a bunch of people. Let's check this out. That was my mentality. Mm-hmm. And then after a while, I'm like, oh man, I seem to like all of the movies that this man is making, right? And so, like the movies you mentioned, Mortal Kombat, I totally loved the very first one anyway. Resident Evil, I know that there are a lot of people who, that was based on a video game. It's one of the earlier video game movies. And a lot of fans of the game don't like that movie because it doesn't follow the story of the movie. Oh. But I enjoy it because it's so, I don't know, I just like the action of it, and the story of it was pretty good, but it just it resonated with me. That's the best I could put it. And maybe it was because I wasn't as a fan of the game. And ironically, recently, like within a couple of years, they made a Resident Evil movie, because obviously the series goes on forever. But they recently made a Resident Evil movie that was not associated with the earlier Resident Evil movies from that series. Mm-hmm. The stars Jovanovic. So,
Mila. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm familiar with that one.
Right. So, this one that you're mentioning, this features Mila. I think it does feature Mila Jovanovic, and she's in all of these other Resident Evil movies. But in a more recent movie, they made it more faithful to the game. They had all of the characters that were in the game. They're dressed like the characters in the game are dressed. Okay. And the story is almost exactly the same as it was in the game. But the only people that liked it apparently were the fans of the games, and it tanked at the box office. And I didn't think it was keen. Like my son liked it, but I was like, I don't really like this. And I can't tell you why, because it was, it had action. It was exciting. I guess the story to me was kind of lame. Now also Death Race was a remake of an earlier movie it starred David Carradine. Oh, and that was, I never watched the original, but I watched the remake. The remake was with Jason Statham, and I enjoyed the remake. So I really like Paul W.S. Anderson. He's just
you gravitate
I just like his action
him.
movies.
Yeah. Well, the writer is going to sound familiar too. It's David Webb Peoples, and he didn't write a lot, but he wrote Unforgiven, Blade Runner, which we'll get into that a little more too, and 12 Monkeys. And then I did read that this particular movie, so it came out in 98, but David Webb Peoples apparently wrote it like 15 years prior to the production of this. And then Tony Gilroy did like a rewrite at the time of the making of it, but he's uncredited with that rewrite.
Right.
Yeah. So Jerry Goldsmith, famous composer on so many movies. I didn't realize that his protege did the music for this. His name is Joel McNeely, and I noted this silly movie. Did you ever see Splash 2? Like this,
no, I did not.
It's not nearly as good. I adore the first Splash movie, but there was a sequel with different people.
Right.
So he composed that. Iron Will, I remember that. Flipper, Return to Neverland, The Stepford Wives, and he won an Emmy for doing the music for the series Young Indiana Jones Chronicles, which I've not seen. Have you seen that?
I haven't seen, I may have seen like one episode of the Young Indiana Jones Chronicles, and the other ones I have not seen at all. So I'm not that familiar with the shows or his music, but I like the music in here. Not that it's hummable, but I really like how it kind of elevates the scenery, and it just keeps you engaged in the film emotionally, because there's very little dialogue. So the music kind of helps you understand how you're supposed to feel, or it's encouraging you to move in a particular direction. So yeah, it works extremely well in this context.
I agree. Okay, so just in case somebody who's listening or watching has not seen this movie, or if it's been a minute, it is set in a futuristic society, and some people are selected at birth to become soldiers and trained in such a manner that they become inhuman killing machines. One of the most successful and older of these soldiers, played by Russell, is pitted against a new breed of soldier. And after there's a confrontation between the olds and the new. And so Kurt's character is believed to be dead, and his body is left behind in a semi-abandoned colonial planet where everything is peaceful, and he is taught about other aspects of life. And, but of course, eventually he has to fight the new breed of soldiers again, and this time it's to defend his new home. So that's just the description of Soldier, and Kurt Russell's our star here. He plays Sergeant Todd, AK number 3465. So Kane, who is the new breed of soldier, Kane number 607 is played by Jason Scott Lee. And he didn't look familiar to me, but he played Bruce Lee in the movie called Dragon, the Bruce Lee story. And he was also in Back to the Future Part 2, Lilo and Stitch, and the 2020 Mulan.
It's interesting. Yeah, I know him from Dragon, the Bruce Lee story that you just mentioned, and as I really liked him in that movie. And what's interesting was that he didn't actually have a martial arts background, and so everything that he did for that movie, he had to learn how to do. So that was fascinating, and I really enjoyed him in that movie. What was also funny is so that's another reason why I watched Soldier, because I knew he was in this movie.
Oh, okay.
And I don't even remember him from Back in the Future Part 2. And he looks different because he's bald.
Oh, did he have hair? Oh.
Yeah, in Dragon, he has hair.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, Bruce Lee had hair. So,
it was kind of hard to, like when you're used to seeing somebody with hair, when they shave all their hair off, they become harder to identify.
Also, he was really big. Like Bruce Lee was a smaller guy. So I don't know. That's
I don't know if he got bigger and he was smaller, and when he was playing Bruce Lee, he was just a big guy playing Bruce Lee. I can't really say for certain. I think he just got bigger for this role in Soldier. And then I see him pop up like here or there every once in a while. Like the last time I seen him there was a remake of Hawaii Five-0, the TV show, and he had a guest spot on there for at least a couple of episodes. But I feel like I don't see him often enough.
He was unfamiliar to me. I've never seen him before.
You should watch that Dragon, the Bruce Lee story. I think you'll enjoy it.
I think I would like that too. I just haven't seen it. So then the next guy is Jason Isaacs, and he played like the bad, like evil Colonel Meekum, and he's actually an English actor. And when I was looking at his other work, he played another colonel in The Patriot. And then he was also in the Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, which I haven't seen any of the Harry Potter stuff either. So I didn't know him from anything else. I don't know.
Right. I only know him from one other thing because I'm not familiar with most of the stuff. Like I've seen The Patriot, but I don't remember that movie. I would have to rewatch it to get anything out of it. The only other thing that I know him from is like when I see him, he's always looking familiar. So I did do a movie that he was in, Alien 3. And so it's like I see him and I'm surprised because, there's the guy. But the only reason I'm more familiar with him now is because he's in a show called Star Trek Discovery. He's in the first season. And he has a very significant role in that. He plays the captain, but he's kind of like this character that we see him in this show. So, he's the captain of the hero ship, but he's kind of acting like it's almost like a villainous attitude.
I mean, he's maybe typecast. I don't know.
He wasn't really like in Alien 3, he really wasn't the villain. He really can play any character, but when he wants to be a villain, he's a very good villain.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was good.
Yeah.
I did recognize Connie Nielsen. She plays Sandra, and she's the woman so she's married and has a son, but Kurt Russell's like really into her because he doesn't have feelings, but we see him like trying to figure out what emotions are, and we see him like kind of eyeing her, and she helps him recover. That's who Sandra is. And I have seen her before, and I think it's from SVU. She has a distinctive way of speaking, and she's a Danish actress. She's been in a lot of things, and I haven't seen Gladiator in a long time, but I guess she won an Oscar for her role in Gladiator. Who was she in Gladiator?
So it's funny, right? Because I didn't recognize her as I was watching the movie, but when I was going over your list, I was like, "Oh, that's who she is," and I instantly connected her with the roles that you have listed here. So, like in Gladiator, she was the sister of the Joaquin Phoenix character.
Oh, okay.
He was the one who was weirdly attracted to his sister.
That's right. That's right. Oh, I forgot about that. Okay.
Yeah, and she was in Wonder Woman. She played Queen Hippolyta, so that's Wonder Woman's mother. Mm. And so, like when I read the notes, I was like, "Oh yeah, that makes sense. That is her, right?" Because I only recognize her from you like knocking on the head and jarring my memories loose. And you had mentioned that the soldier didn't have feelings. It's not so much that he didn't have feelings. It's just that he's experiencing feelings that he's never had before.
Yeah,
he has no idea what to do with them.
You're right. When he does, he's perplexed. He like doesn't know what is happening.
Right. He has no idea what's going on. It's like, because he's never looked at a woman in a way that he's looking at Sandra.
Yeah. And she is very pretty. I like her. She had a run on Law and Order SVU also, which I like that show a lot. So I think that's why she was familiar to me.
Yeah.
And then her husband, his name in the movie is Mace, and he's played by Sean Pertwee.
That sounds good to me.
I don't know
with that.
He's also a British actor with a lot of credits too, like the Gotham TV series, which I haven't like. He didn't look familiar to me, but he has a lot of credits. So he's a working actor. Equilibrium, Even Horizon. And yeah, so he played Alfred Pennyworth in the Gotham TV series.
Yeah, I felt exactly the same way as you felt. Like when you say that he didn't look familiar, and then like I had done an episode, I did Equilibrium. And so when I did Equilibrium, that was a while ago. So when I was doing it, I was doing research. It's like, who's this guy? Wait a minute, he was in another movie more recently, I think. But
I'm sure.
Like I'm tempted to say that he was also in I'm tempted to say that he was in Alien 3, but maybe not. I'm probably confusing him with someone else. But he was definitely in Event Horizon, and I did that movie recently. And so when I was doing the research for Event Horizon, because it's like it was bugging me because I recognized the guy and I couldn't figure out why he was familiar. And then when I came across Gotham, I was like, he's that guy.
Oh.
That's the guy.
So you are familiar with that TV series?
Yeah. So and Gotham is a show. Well, see, Gotham is kind of weird because originally the concept was it was going to focus on the Gotham Police Department. And at least that's what I thought it was going to be. I think the show was sold to me as them focusing on like Lieutenant Jim Gordon and him trying to solve like weird crimes with his partner and within a corrupt Gotham Police Department. And it was going to have Bruce Wayne and Alfred Pennyworth. So Bruce Wayne is a young boy. He's being raised by the family butler. But it didn't take long for the show to kind of shift focus away from the police department all the way to Alfred and Bruce Wayne. So it felt like it became like a different show.
Okay.
But yeah, he's really good in that show. He's very good. He's one of the favorite versions I have of Alfred Pennyworth because he's a younger dude. He teaches Bruce Wayne how to fight. He's basically raising him as his own son. So it's fascinating.
Oh, the younger version of him. Yeah. Because we don't usually get that.
Right. We don't get whole stories of young Bruce Wayne.
Mm-hmm. Well, speaking of young, the kid in this movie is played by twins, Jared and Taylor Thorne. And he doesn't speak. His name is Nathan in the movie. And so he has the twins. So both of them have exactly 3 credits. They're in the same exact movies. So they always, you know how they, like a lot of times with kids, they have twins play them.
Right.
And both of these guys, kids. So he was in Volcano. And apparently Models Inc., like 6 episodes of Models Inc. So he must have been somebody's kid in that show. And that was from 1995. And I loved that show. So I noted that.
Right. Yeah, I hadn't seen Models Inc. And the funny thing about Volcano is that it was one of those twin movies. Remember, I was talking about earlier when one studio puts
There's
out a
always like
movie,
yeah.
there's like a competing movie. Well, it's like two phenomena. One is like a studio puts out a successful movie, and then other studios, like maybe a couple of years later, they'll try to copy that. In this instance, it's an instance where the studio puts out a movie, and I guess another studio hears about it, and let's put out a competing movie. So in this instance, it's Volcano, and the other movie was Dante's Peak, or we talked about Armageddon, and the other movie was Deep Impact.
Yeah,
right.
There's so many instances of it. It's like everybody's shopping these movies around, and so that happens a lot. It's like somebody hears that one has got a green light, and so they're like, "Oh, I guess we'll green light this same movie over here."
Right.
Okay, so Rubric. I was like, who is Rubric in this? It's one of the military guys in charge, I guess. He's played by Mark Brigelson. And I just noted that he played Andy Warhol in the Austin Powers movie. And and the famous movie from the 80s, Heathers, he played a police officer in that. And then I am shocked that Gary Busey is not credited further up for some reason, but Gary Busey's in this.
Yeah.
And I liked him
too. I don't understand why he's not higher on the credits, because he's amazing. He's in the movie a lot, and he should be like third billed. Right?
I agree.
I don't know why he's so low on the credits, but yeah, he was. And I'd like this for him because it's not as Busey as some of the other movies that he does.
You're right.
He's really toned down, somewhat straight-laced, and not as villainous or crazy as some of his other characters. I just did Point Break for my podcast, and he's
listened to it.
Yeah, thank you. And he's about as Busey as you can get in Point Break.
Yep,
like there's one point where he jumps on a desk and pretends to surf like he is out there.
Yeah, he's Buseying it up in that. But yeah, you're right. He's very toned down, and he like plays like the more moral captain.
Yes.
He plays Captain Church, and he's the head of the original soldiers, like the ones that are like selected from birth and trained. Right. Which Kurt is one of those. So yeah, so they're like pinning the old soldiers against the new soldiers, and Gary Busey is in charge of them. And then so then in the description we talked about Kurt Russell's character Todd coming to this new trash planet, basically. Yeah. And there's a community of people there, and I would say she's like the leader of them. Her name is Hawkins, played by Brenda Welly. I don't know. She's that community leader, and all of her credits are some sort of an authority figure. She's like a judge. And then Michael Chiklis is in this as Jimmy Pig. Like a young Michael Chiklis. And everybody knows he's most famous for his role in The Shield, right? Yeah.
You would think that most people know. I think I had a recent conversation with somebody who didn't know who Michael Chiklis is. And not that he didn't know who that was, but didn't know that there was a show called The Shield. And I was like, man, you gotta check out that show. Mm-hmm. He's the villain in that show, but the show is about him.
It's wild. So the music you had mentioned was very effective. Well, it was, because it was actually nominated for an International Music Award for Best Original Score for Joel McNeely. And budget here is $30 million. And it made less than half of that, $14.6 million.
Yeah, I'm reading that. I didn't know that it had failed that hard. And because it's just one of my favorite movies, and it hits all of my pleasure centers. And it's not an expensive movie. Like, it's $30 million. It's like, that's what you would give like a movie where you know that it's just enough where you can make a tidy profit from this. From like a sci-fi. Yeah, I noticed that there are a lot of genre movies or a lot of movies that feature minorities. They tend to have budget $30 million because studios don't tend to have confidence in that type of movie reaching a large audience. So you have movies like, I'm trying to think, that Ice Cube, what did he do?
He like plays Are We There Yet? Like those movies?
Well, not that one, but that's one of them. But Boys in the Hood, a movie like
Boys in the Hood.
that's really urban or something like that, or Juice, a movie that's really urban.
I love Juice.
Yeah, and it's like those movies typically get budgets between $15 to $30 million, and because, like I said, the studios don't have confidence that it's going to reach a wide audience, and these movies are often surprisingly successful. A lot of times, a lot of these genre movies are the most profitable movies because they don't have a huge budget to begin with. But to see this, that it didn't have a large budget and it did not succeed in any way, shape, or form is shocking. Maybe it made its money back on the DVDs or something like that. I don't know.
I think it eventually got a cult following, like later, as happens. But okay, so the $30 million budget, Kurt Russell's paycheck was $20 million of that.
Wow.
So
you know what's funny? I was going to say that it looked like it was $30 million because the special effects was weak compared to other, space movies, space fantasies, something like that. Oh, that's
so funny you say that. I kind of didn't mind it. I was like, oh, that's pretty good. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm just saying in comparison, they weren't bad. Like they don't bother you. It's not like this. You're not in space all of the time, but the spaceship shots were definitely pretty weak compared to other movies of the same genre where they would have more money for their special. It's not like they're spending 2/3 of their budget on one person.
Yeah, like
so could have made this movie for a lot cheaper.
The movie didn't even make enough to cover Kurt's salary.
Right.
Like that's
that
wild.
Is bad.
And apparently, so I think they thought it was going to do really well because Kurt had said that there was originally a sequel planned. But because it did so poorly, they obviously scrapped that.
Yeah, that's super sad. Because like I said, this happens to me a lot when I'm doing my own show and I do research on something that I really love, and then I look at the box office and it's like, oh no, well, no wonder nobody talks about this movie, or no wonder there's no sequel to this movie because it did so poorly. I was like, and I'm just surprised because it's amazing when you find out that something that you love dearly is not. Like this feeling isn't shared by a lot of people.
Well, like I said, I think there are a number of people. Like it has a cult following. Apparently, I had never seen this before, but it sounds like this is one of your favorites. Definitely. Did you see it in the theater in '98 when it came out?
I want to say that I did. I can't remember precisely, but I want to say that I did see it in the theater.
And do you watch it somewhat regularly?
No, I don't have a habit of. I used to have a habit of watching movies multiple times, but I really don't get the chance to watch movies as often as I normally do.
So many things to watch, so little time.
Right.
Well, okay. I thought this was kind of funny. So to your point, I do think people liked it. Rotten Tomatoes critical consensus reads a quote, a boring genre film and a waste of a good set. That's what critics thought of it. However, audiences polled by CinemaScore gave it an average grade of a B+.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I don't know who's calling it boring. That's bothersome. There's nothing boring about this movie. In the beginning of the movie, a dude gets his eyes gouged out. What are you talking about?
That's true. I do have issues with the pacing of it. But again, this movie is not made for me.
Right.
So I really did not like Stargate, at all. But this I enjoyed, but I have no desire to watch it again.
Right. I didn't realize that there could be some potential pacing issues.
I was like, oh my God. I was like, how much is left? Let's get this show on the road.
Right.
But that's okay. So what are your, how would you share your overall impressions or thoughts about it?
Well, it's funny, right? Because watching this again, there are a lot of, I can see themes now. So there are a lot of themes that this movie is exploring. One of the themes is how soldiers are treated when they're returned to society, or how any service member is treated when they're returned to society, or what do you do with a soldier when they have severe PTSD, or a lot of things like that running around in the movie, or a person proving their worth, proving their usefulness, and how to deal with that when you've lost your usefulness. And the other impression I had was that the star says very little. This is the least amount of dialogue that Kurt Russell has ever had in his career, and he's doing all of the acting through his face. He's communicating with his body and his facial expression, and it is glorious.
It is great. I think I read he has 104 words or something.
Yeah, something like that. And that seems a lot.
Yeah. I mean, for an hour and a half movie, but that's what I mean. I got major Universal Soldier vibes from this movie.
Right.
But also because of that, quiet soldier that's doing all of his acting non-verbally and setting booby traps and stuff. I got Rambo, First Blood, the original First Blood movie. It felt like Rambo to me too, but it's set in space. So,
right. Also, I want to point out that it almost seemed like it was going to fall into the trope of, I can't remember the movie that started this, and because people always reference this, and you see it over and over again in different stories in TV and movies. But what'll happen is that a soldier come across a village of people who are not fighters. They're just trying to live their life. And then you get an opposing force, like a military that's bearing down upon them. And so while this opposing force is coming, the soldier that's in that community, they're getting the people ready to defend themselves. And you see this type of trope in a lot of different movies. And this movie doesn't fall into that trope, which is awesome. Because you remember near the end of the movie, and basically the military comes to basically raise the village. And they've already, engaged in battle already. And so some of the villagers, we can help you. We can fight. Why won't you let us fight? And he says, no, soldiers deserve soldiers. And I thought that was magnificent.
So he's single-handedly takes out 17 dudes.
Superior to him. They're faster, stronger. They have quicker reflexes. The only thing that he has going for him is guile, and that's what he uses. That is what the Gary Busey character, who was named Church, that's what he's doing. He's trying to teach this younger officer about how, you need more than just to be stronger and faster. This quality, and he can't quite communicate it to the commander, and the commander doesn't get it. It's the only thing he understands are the statistics. Is he's faster, he's stronger, he has more endurance. Therefore, these qualities mean that he's better. But there's something else that is missing from his soldiers, and he learns the hard way. I
loved the line. So Gary Busey says to the leader of the new, they're like bread. He actually says the new soldiers are like bread. I feel like he said that in one.
They're basically they're made. It's more like they combine certain genes together.
Yeah.
They're more like clones or something like that.
They're superhuman.
Yeah. They combine the best qualities of the best people they can find in a gene, in a gene matrix or whatever, and grew these soldiers basically in a test tube. So these basically are GMO soldiers.
I like that. So Gary Busey's character says once, because you're right. The guy doesn't get that he's that it's even possible that the old soldiers could be better. And he says, maybe you should have made him smart instead of fast. It's very Busey, very Busey like that.
Being cheeky.
Cheeky, yes. And then Kurt, on the radio after he basically kills everybody. So there's in the beginning, so he calls back to, in the beginning, the original soldiers that were selected at birth, Kurt being one of them, they're told that they're obsolete because there's this the new soldiers.
Right.
And so they're told that they're obsolete. So Kurt brings that back and tells Meekum over the radio that your men are obsolete now.
Yeah. That was awesome. That was a great callback. So in the beginning, right, I like how it kind of starts off. It follows Todd's life from his birth, which is crazy. So, and showing how they condition the children, like humans from birth, to be passionless disc soldiers, who will only follow orders. Their first the first lesson they learn is that they will speak whenever they're spoken to. They're exposed to trauma early in their lives.
Oh my God, that scene was horrifying.
Right. They pit dogs against boars and force them to watch the violence so that to get them desensitized to violence. Like the children are forced to watch it. And one of my thoughts was, who do you think was going to win? Was it going to be the dogs or the boar? Because this was a wild boar going against some 3 dogs. I actually don't think those dogs had a chance.
Oh, I think we were meant to see. It did look like a wild boar, but
that was a wild. If it were a regular pig, then the pig didn't have a chance. But this is a wild boar. They had tusks. So,
but there were three dogs, and I think we're meant to see. This was like a sacrificial.
Right.
The dogs
I think that the kids were just meant to see violence. I don't think that they knew the outcome wasn't necessarily what you call it. The outcome wasn't required. Like it wasn't relevant. It didn't matter if the boar won or the dogs won. But my train of thought was the boar probably won.
Interesting. Well, we just see this big gush of blood hit the kid. Oh, I hated that. I was like, oh.
Yeah. They were really into that. Oh, also I noted that these children were born in 1996. Mm-hmm. Zachary, my son, was born in 1996.
Oh, well, okay. Yeah, to that point, let's see. I did make a note of like age because yes, the infants were from 96 and this movie apparently takes place in 2036.
Right.
Making those soldiers 40.
Yeah.
Which seems old, right? Like for
it's not necessarily old for soldiers. You know, it's not like sports, right? But what tends to happen is that soldiers will start to move up in rank. So, but that doesn't.
But not in this case. Like this case,
well, in this case, they're just made to fight. Mm-hmm. But that doesn't necessarily that like a 40-year-old soldier is not still fighting, right? Like Rambo, I think he was in his 40s, like in the later movies.
Oh, certainly. The reason I thought it was odd only because like they're supposed to be, they're supposed to be so good at it. And you're not in your prime and you're, at 40.
Right. You're not in your prime. That was one of the things with pitting the older versions of the soldiers with the newer versions. Mm-hmm. Like the newer versions are younger anyway. Yeah. So it's not like you're going to beat these other soldiers in racing or fighting or, endurance or any of these other things. But the thing that the older soldier has over the newer soldiers is their combat experience. And that's what Captain Church was trying to, emphasize. It's like these soldiers are battle tested. You just don't throw away soldiers that are battle tested. And the younger officer, even, he was in command, but he was younger and he didn't have the experience. So he didn't know, right? So he didn't understand the importance of combat experience or how you could pass that experience through teaching from the older generation to the next. So because he didn't appreciate that, he didn't keep the older soldiers around to instruct the younger soldiers. He just basically kept the older soldiers around as backup. And because they're programmed, you notice how they kept the soldiers as they're technically, as far as they're concerned, they're not soldiers anymore. So they're not given weapons. Yeah. So they're not put into like fighting positions. So they're just basically a weaponless support team that goes out and puts out like communication equipment and stuff like that. So yeah, it's crazy. That's one of the other themes in this movie was like kind of like the value of life or the value of people. Like when they saw these soldiers and they thought after the fight with Kurt Russell and the other soldiers versus the one new soldier. And they were all defeated. He just wanted to just throw them away. He was like, they don't even get a burial or anything after the service to the country or anything. They just toss them out with the trash because they didn't want to do the paperwork.
Literally, they toss them out with the trash to a trash planet, like a separate planet that's for trash.
And that's another thing, right? There was a lot of discussion about planets and how many planets could support life and whatnot. That's often the theme of a lot of science fiction stories. Mm-hmm. It's one of the things that we speculate about, like when we study space and stars and planets, we speculate on the possibility of life on other planets, and we speculate in how many planets could support life. And it's funny how in this story they have a planet that is capable of supporting life, but they treat it as a trash planet. And it's like all the planets that are in the universe that they could have chosen that cannot possibly support life, and they chose to dump their trash on a planet that can. So it's one of two things that got me thinking. So either the people in this society are so callous about, about disposing things, or their value on life is so small that they just dump their trash on a planet that can support life, or life in the universe is abundant, like it's so abundant that you have extra planets that you can just dump your trash on. But it seems crazy to waste a planet like that.
I did wonder, like, a question. I'm like, oh, I love how this is like a random trash planet that the community of people like crashed there, and they like developed a society,
Right.
and they're like, the soil seemingly is perfect, and they have all these seedlings, and there is life there because those poisonous snakes, which is like a whole, we see that kind of throughout. I was like, okay, well, that's convenient. But
I think the snake is probably something that was brought there. I don't think that planet has any indigenous life. It looks like a poisonous garden snake.
It did, but yeah, apparently it's extremely poisonous.
Right.
I did know. Okay, so on the age topic and Kurt, because I wouldn't be me, you guys, if I didn't bring up Kurt was smoking in this. He's 47 at the time of the release. Like, he's playing like a 40-year-old ish, but he's 47, and I have never seen Kurt he got in shape for this movie. Super in shape. He both bulked, like he got big, like muscly big, but also cut, which Kurt is hardly ever like really lean and
right.
But this is like the only movie that I've seen him. Like, he always has like a nice body, but I've never seen him like this. So I was very much enjoying Kurt in this movie.
He was in excellent shape. He gave you a little skin action.
Yeah, he did some shirtless, like punching a makeshift heavy bag that's like made of metal.
Right.
Yeah,
giving you some Rocky action.
Yeah, for sure.
He was really hammering that bag too. He's beating the crap out of the bag.
So I have not seen the movie Outer Limits from 1964. But apparently I was reading that, that's a TV show, I think.
Yeah, that's a TV show.
It's a TV show.
They probably had a movie. I know they also had a reboot TV show, but it's really an anthology series that's similar to The Twilight Zone, except the Outer Limits focused on actual monsters. There were almost always monsters in the Outer Limit. And in The Twilight Zone, it's more like a situational type of horror.
Okay, that makes sense. A lot of people were saying like there's a lot of similarities with this movie and a particular episode of Outer Limits, where an unemotional warrior only concerned with destroying the enemy develops feelings of love and a desire to protect his new family. So it is very, very similar.
Right. Yeah, that's the thing about it, is that, he's bred and built to follow orders. Like, he's extremely conditioned. Like, this is like the most severe version of being in the regimental life, as some people would call it, like being conditioned to the point where you don't even speak, or you don't have real emotions. There's a point where I can't remember her name, but the woman, she asks him, you're like, what do you think about it? And the only answer he could come up with was fear and discipline, right? Because like, one of the things like he had to grow up with is he's running in formation. He's actually in the head of formation, carrying the flag. And that, you remember when all those kids are running on the road, and
the one that falls behind.
Right. One of them falls behind. And I'm thinking to myself, that sometimes that was me. Sometimes that was me falling behind information.
Well, good thing they didn't shoot you. Like, they shot this kid. They're like, well, you're not good enough.
They shot the kid, which was shocking. But also, that was one of the things that, that's why he's thinking about fear and discipline. That's fear and discipline all in the same, in the same scene, because he has to be disciplined enough to run in this formation. And he's afraid that, if he does not perform to standard, then he will be killed. And actually his fears came true. And like when he was made to fight the newer soldier
Mhm.
and he failed to defeat this other soldier. And this is just a demonstration. This isn't like they had animosity toward each
Yeah.
other. It was just to prove if he was worth keeping around. And he had failed. So that's basically part of his fears coming through, of him being disposed of because he could not fulfill his duty, or he could not perform his duty sufficiently.
Mhm.
So that's very impactful for especially somebody who thinks about their usefulness in life. So for somebody who wants to prove that they have value, and they're being shown that they don't have any value, or that they're being thrown away. And like one of the most powerful moments in the movie is he's trying to fit into this society like the best way he knows how, but he's still so controlled. He's still living under those controlled conditions. So like when he's eating like a machine, or like when he's sitting down, he's just sitting still like he would if he was back on the planet or back on Earth or whatever. And so he doesn't know how to. Sandra goes to try to hug him, and he doesn't know what to do with the feelings. So he starts to tremble, and she realizes she's causing harm, so she lets go of him, right? Because he does not like to be touched.
Well, it's just that he doesn't understand what's happening. Like he's never been hugged before.
Right.
Like he doesn't know that she's trying to comfort him. Like it's just so not a part of his, like, anything. Because it's just, you are just a warrior, and that's all you ever do. Like your emotion.
Right. And then when the soldiers, when they're making physical contact, it is to fight. It's not to shake hands.
Right.
It's not to hug somebody. It's like when you're touching him, you are challenging him to a fight. And those are the things that is part of his PTSD and is part of fighting against what he was trained to do. So yeah, you're right. He definitely didn't know what to do with the feelings. He didn't know. I think he knew that she didn't want to cause him harm.
Right. Yeah.
That she was trying to comfort him, because he's observing the other people. So it's not like he can't read body language or understand what people are doing.
He's learning about emotions and stuff. Yeah.
Right. But with him, it's not something that he can deal with. Right. It's like trying to drag an introvert outside. It's like,
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I actually have a question, because you know how they have the tattoos on their face with their name and their number, and I think their blood type.
Yeah.
But the only blood type I saw was it O positive, or they all had the same one. They all had the same one. And I
did not realize that they all had the same one, which is kind of irrelevant because if all of your soldiers have the exact same blood type, then why bother putting it on their faces?
That I know. That's why I was like, well, either I just thought that was weird that they didn't show us a different one.
Right.
You know, I don't,
because I think it's O negative that's supposed to be compatible with anybody or something.
I don't know.
Like
One of them is, and I don't know.
Yeah,
but I was like, I thought that was weird.
Now I feel like I got to go rewatch the movie to pay attention, or maybe it was just him and
Kane
Kane. Yeah, I think maybe it's just him and Kane. They got the same blood type. But that was a fascinating like design detail to put on them, to put on their cheek, the name, their blood type, and their kids. Was like, I remember when I was deployed, that was one of the things that had to be known. So on our helmets, we had to put the helmets already had our name, so we had to write our blood type on our helmets.
Oh, really? Okay. I mean, that makes sense. Okay.
Yeah. So, because obviously you can't just take any kind of blood, but in a pinch, you can match blood types and get just enough blood to keep alive and until long enough to drag you off the battlefield. There was that, and then they had on, I guess it was their left. I want to say, no, it was their right. Like their right arm. They had their campaigns,
or like the wars that they've been in, right?
Yeah,
like
the wars they've been in, right? Yeah. So that's also parallel to the military decorations. Like when you see a soldier or a Marine or any service member on one side of the dress uniform, they got these colorful banners. On the other side, they got a bunch of other colorful banners. That's what those are. Those colors represent all of the campaigns that they've been in.
And when you say campaigns,
that's like the wars.
But the military calls them campaigns.
Right.
I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah.
It's a nicer way of saying it, I guess.
Yeah, that's a nicer way of saying it. And basically you're given an award for participating in these wars or these conflicts or whatever. So you can, if you're like, it basically is communicating with other service members, so they or their family, so they can look at these ribbons and they can see the engagements that you've been involved in.
That's cool. I like that. I didn't realize that. I like that fact.
Yeah.
Did you take note of the younger version of Todd, Kurt Russell's character, like that he looked a lot like Kurt?
Yes, I did take note of that.
And do you know why he looked a lot like Kurt?
Is that his son?
It's his son, Wyatt. Yeah.
I didn't realize that was Wyatt. That must be his first role. He did an excellent job.
Yeah, agreed. And that was like, I was like, that really does look like a young Kurt. Yeah.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it does. I didn't realize that was him because he was because it's like it's kind of hard to play emotionless, like to be like a robot or monotonous or whatever. So he did a real good job of doing that. So yeah, I thought that he looked remarkably like Kurt Russell.
Well, it's the same gene pool. So talking about Rambo, I felt like this had some Rambo vibes.
Yeah.
And I was reading that director Ted Kotcheff, he directed First Blood, and they wanted Sylvester Stallone originally. Like he was one of the people that they were considering for Todd.
Right.
Which is wild. I love Sylvester Stallone, so I took note of that. Also, Clint Eastwood was another potential. Let's see. I feel like there was one other one.
They're always aiming high when they get through these projects.
Yeah. I guess Stallone was unavailable. Oh, also Keanu Reeves. I was reading that he was considered. That would have been awful.
I don't know. He's really good in John Wick, so that might have. And it's like people complain about his subdued style of acting anyway, so this probably would have been perfect for him. He can, even in Point Break, he basically has a soldier's build. Like soldiers aren't typically like giant and bulky; they're typically leaner. And because one of a soldier's main exercising, at least United States military, is running. And so when you're doing a lot of running, that has a tendency of slimming you down. So every other soldier is like they're huge and bulky, but I think most of the soldiers they tend to be kind of slim. So I would say that Keanu Reeves has a kind of a slim build. And when I say slim, I'm not talking about like slim like a basketball player, or maybe about the same build as a basketball player.
He's got his frame is slighter. I don't know. I don't dislike Keanu. I like Kurt in this. And
right. I do enjoy Kurt in this movie. I don't think it would have been bad, but I think I definitely would have preferred Kurt Russell or even Sylvester Stallone, which would be normal for him. Like this is his jam.
Yeah, it is his jam. Like not talking very, but it would have been so much like Rambo.
Yeah, too much like Rambo.
Too much like Rambo. Yeah.
And he'd have taken over production.
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds about right. Oh, let's see. I was like some other trivia. Okay, so when I had briefly talked about Blade Runner, the writer wrote Blade Runner. There's a lot of nods to Blade Runner. Did you is that something that you took note of? I didn't because this was my first time.
That was one of the things that I had alluded to when I talked about this movie. Well, we spoke of it before, and I was encouraging you to check out this movie. I was basically saying that this was considered an unofficial sequel to a previous movie, and that your guests will probably talk about it, whoever you got. So you got me, so I get to, but you found out on your own, which is awesome.
Tell us about it. That it was.
So actually, I don't know. I can't remember the little nods that this movie did for Blade Runner, but people consider this like in the same universe as Blade Runner. So maybe not necessarily a sequel, but a spinoff. And
they call it like a side off.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
I don't know how that's different, but yeah, same universe.
I would just call it a spin-off, right? But yeah, because they mention like some of the military campaigns that are mentioned in Blade Runner, I think are mentioned in this movie or referenced, and then some of the planets that are mentioned in Blade Runner are kind of mentioned in this movie. So, and if you're paying close attention to both movies, then you will catch the references and see how they're related. but I never played that close with them. So, but I did hear about that, how they're close. And to be honest, Blade Runner isn't one of my favorite movies. I know a lot of sci-fi fans hold that movie in very high
they
esteem.
do. They really do.
But I'm like, and I think I thought that was okay. Like I forced myself to watch it a bunch of times, but I just don't get the same feeling of joy and excitement when I watch this movie as other people get when they watch it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was like some of the battles were like that were on his arm were like nods to it. There was stuff like that. Actually, a lot of Kurt's movies, there were references to the Pliskin Patch, which is a reference to Escape from New York and Escape from LA. There was the O'Neill Ring Award, which is a reference to Stargate. The receipt of the Cash Medal of Honor, which is, I guess you could argue that's a nod to Tango and Cash.
Right.
And then there was the receipt of the MacReady Cross, reference to The Thing. Receipt of the Captain Ron trophy. Captain Ron.
That's funny.
And receipt of the McCaffrey Fire Award, which is a reference to Backdraft.
Right.
And there was like, I could go on and on about, there was even going back to the computer wore tennis shoes, like a nod to that. So I thought that was kind of fun. I didn't catch any of that. But
I was trying to read some of that when they had that on the computer screen when they was going through his record and all the awards and stuff that he had won. Mm-hmm. So, but now that you're reading it too, it's like, that's pretty cheeky that they put all of that movie.
Cute.
That's pretty awesome.
Like that. I like that kind of stuff.
How did you like that? The falling in love montage.
The falling in love?
They had a montage where they were like showing, what's her name? The woman. Sandra. And then they would show like Kurt just kind of like standing there stoic. And then Sandra was just going about her daily life. And,
I don't know.
And Sergeant Todd just like perfectly stoic.
It was kind of weird because like she's married and has a kid. So I don't know. That did not land for me.
Right.
Like I could tell like, I guess it was just showing us like he's developing emotions.
Right. Right. I thought it was funny because it's not normally how a falling in love montage is supposed to look. Right?
Good point.
So, I thought that he was like, he was doing some experimental work where he's making a commentary on how other movies are made or something like that. But I just thought it was amusing is that it's like he's falling deeper and deeper in love with this married woman, but doesn't know what to do with it. And then kind of later on in the movie, her husband is killed. And
Isn't that convenient? Yeah, and then the kid loves him. Like, aw.
Right. And the kid loves him because he's trying to, that was also one interesting scene is these green snakes that keep popping up. Mm-hmm. So there's a snake and the reason he can't talk is because he was bitten by one of these snakes when he was younger. So they're in the room and he's doing whatever, and the green snake is crawling up to him, and then Todd is giving the kid a shoe and trying to tell him to smash the snake. He's like, do that, right? the kid is not really responding, so he snatches the snake away from the kid and he kind of throws it off and just, all right, go ahead, smash it. Right? The kid is still not picking up what Kurt is laying down.
Well, yeah, it was he did though, because then there was a whole like misunderstanding that because they kicked Kurt out because they were scared, like they took that as like, why didn't Kurt or Todd just kill the snake?
Right.
But he was trying to use it as like a teachable
moment. A teachable moment.
But the parents were freaked out because obviously they don't want to risk him being bitten by these poisonous snakes again. But then the kid did learn what Todd was telling him to do, and so he could save his parents from being bitten by it.
He saved his parents from the green snake. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and he started clobbering the snake with a shoe. He had learned. Yeah, like even all the while he had learned the lesson that Todd was trying to teach him. And that was like the second incident. The first incident was when he's trying to give Todd a gift for saving his life because there was a windstorm and he almost got blown into the shredder machine.
Oh, yeah.
And Todd almost single-handedly used a rope or a wire to pull him away from the shredder so he didn't get shredded up. And so he's trying to give him this, like a scarf, like a gift. And but Todd was like in his own mind, and he's experiencing. He's going through something right now. His memories are messing him up, and so, and I guess like Michael Chiklis, he touched him or something, and then next thing you know, Todd grabs him and slams him on this machine thing, and there's like this grinder thing is coming towards Michael Chiklis' like his head, like he's gonna, and he was like, because he was fully in his memories, like Todd was fully in his memories, and he didn't realize what he was doing, and then when he realized it, he pulled Chiklis away. I'm only calling Michael Chiklis because I can't remember what his name is in the movie.
It was Jimmy Pig. Jimmy Pig was his name, which is weird. But yeah,
right. So the whole community saw this. The leader saw this. You know, all these kids saw it. That he almost killed Jimmy. And he does, like I said, like you said, he doesn't know what to do with these emotions, because this is a classic symptom of PTSD, where you're kind of reliving like the trauma in your life, and this is all trauma going all the way back to his childhood training, right? The fights that he got in when he was a child, being trained to be a soldier, and then all the campaigns that he was in. So this was like the result of him trying to go back into regular society, and the people not knowing how to do it, and he not knowing how to do it. So after the second incident with the snake, they kind of kick him out, and then for the first time you like see he's expressing real emotion, like he's crying for the first time. It was like, you could tell it was his first time, because it's like, what's happening to me?
What's coming out of my eyes?
Right, what's going on in my eye? My eyes are sweating.
I actually have a question. I didn't understand the wind. Is this just like a thing that happens on this planet? Because they have, but then like their community is set in like down in somewhere where the wind can't get to what was the deal with the wind?
So yeah, the wind is apparently a thing that happens on this planet. Okay. So it has unpredictable weather events. So every once in a while you get a little bit of warning, and then the wind comes, and it's apparently something that sweeps across the planet in a sudden fashion. And the people kind of live underground, like they got a covering, they got structures that cover it, but they're kind of underground, so that the wind kind of goes over them.
Okay.
So yeah, it's interesting, because it's a nice feature that Kurt kind of uses to defeat some of his enemies. And a lot of the things I really liked is when he has to fight these guys, he's fighting soldiers that are physically better than him in any way. So the only thing he got's going with him is guile. So he uses all of the tricks that he's ever learned in all of the campaigns that he's fought to defeat these new soldiers who've never been in combat. And remember when he had that line, was that soldiers deserve soldiers. I think part of that was that he was deeply offended that these soldiers would attack defenseless civilians. Like even with the guns that the civilians have, they didn't penetrate the armor, not even to the point of knocking them down. Like even with regular body armor, when somebody shoots you, usually you get knocked down. So these soldiers were way more outclassed than these civilians. And it's like, it's really no point in killing them anyway. Like you see some people that need rescue, you're supposed to rescue them, you're not supposed to slaughter them, but they're under the command of this corrupt officer. So they're going around, they're trying to kill all these people. And I think that deeply offended Todd, because in Todd's life, he probably never fought civilians. He only fought other soldiers. And so that's why he said he didn't want the civilians to fight, because that's not what their function is. He said soldiers deserve soldiers. So I think part of him killing these other soldiers was that it was basically kind of betraying their purpose. Their purpose wasn't to fight defenseless people. Their purpose was to fight other soldiers. And the woman asked, there are 15 of them and only one of you. What are you going to do? And he says, I'm going to kill them all, sir. Right?
Oh, I love that he calls her sir. Sandra, he calls her sir.
He calls everybody sir.
Sir.
That's so magical.
That's cute. There's another logic question though, like, where's he getting like a missile launcher and like all these weapons, you know?
Oh, he gets it from them. Like when he starts defeating these soldiers, he uses their weapons. Them.
Okay.
Right. He's like these things are useful. Like one of the guys you see one of the new soldiers, as you see them marching towards the camp, he's on his vest, there are like these tiny little missiles that are attached to his uniform. So I imagine that's what he's using. Those are the missiles for the missile launcher. So when he kills some of these guys, he just start gathering their weapons as they approach and use it against them. He has that trick where he has like this 2 machine guns are firing at these soldiers, and they don't know where the machine gun fire is coming from. Then they discover it, and then they discover it's a dummy. And then when they realize it's a dummy, it's not Kurt is, or Todd, he's somewhere in the distance pulling the triggers with a string. And then when they discover it, it's almost like he wants them to know that it's a trick. And when they discover the trick, then he blows them up with a grenade or something.
And the snakes are used to kill one of the guys too.
I don't know if he did that on purpose. I think that was a fortunate happenstance that the dude just happened to fall into a snake pit. But he might have gathered
he did it on
snakes.
purpose because there was like a whole, I mean, there was just like a ton of them.
There was a ton of snakes.
He used the snakes to kill the one guy. Okay, another logic question is Meekum, the bad guy, he's talking about the whole purpose of going to this planet is he's like, we have to do our like semi-annual security checks, and they don't expect anyone to be there. And so if they do, this is some foreshadowing. What if we, find people there? They're like, well, we treat them as insurgents then or whatever.
Yeah.
Well, okay. So how have they not met these people before if this is a semi-annual check? Because these people have been there for years.
Right. Well, we don't know the scope of the territory. So it could be that when they do their checks, they're checking different territories. So this just so happened to be one of the territories that they checked. And we also don't know how long. I don't know how long the people have been there. Apparently they may have been there for maybe a year or maybe a couple of years or whatever. So I
feel like it's been a couple years because
at least a couple of years.
Yeah.
But it's just, it has to be a couple of years because I don't think any children were born there. And they're basically refugees. They're basically waiting to be rescued. They just kind of gave up because the only ships that were coming to that planet were the trash ships. And apparently the trash ships are unmanned or they're manned by people who don't care. So they don't want to stay there, but they managed to make their lives there. And then when they see the military ship, their first instinct is try to get their attention so they can be rescued. And Todd was like, nope, don't. Mm-hmm. And so
he knows.
Yeah, he knows. He kind of got that vibe. And so the officer who's in charge, he literally doesn't want to do the paperwork. And so he wants to test his soldiers because they're in a peacetime and there are no wars for him to go to. He wants to test his soldiers on these defenseless people. So he's accomplishing two goals. He's putting his soldiers in the field to give them a taste of combat, and which is no combat at all. Mm-hmm. And he's also ridding himself of having to do extra paperwork of rescuing innocent people, which is crazy, right?
There has to be a bad guy. There has to be a villain. In these movies. So I saw this note, and since you have military service, thank you, by the way, for your service. Apparently, so regarding military protocol, I was reading that the final attack apparently is taking place in the wrong order for how the military would do that. Foot soldiers followed by hardened and heavily armed military vehicles, followed by artillery instead of the other way around. Yeah. So they did it backwards?
They probably did it. Yeah, that's pretty backwards. Normally you would hit them hard and then you would send in like the troops to like mop up like anybody that survived. You would definitely do it that way. If you remember the Iraq campaign, I don't know if you remember, it was a while ago though, but they had the shock and awe things. They were showing so-called shock and awe on television, how they were hammering the military positions of the Iraqi soldiers from afar. They were launching mortars and rockets at them, and they were just these fantastic explosions in black and white because they were doing it at night. And they called that the shock and awe. And then after they sent the tanks and the foot soldiers and whatnot. So yeah, that is definitely the more appropriate order that you would do that sort of thing. But I think in this movie, like they didn't know that they thought they were just dealing with people.
That's true.
So they was like, for one thing, it's like the future anyway. But the other thing is that they're just dealing with people. So it's like, he thinks that he's just killing a bunch of vagabonds. That's how flippant he is. Mm-hmm. So the purpose of his mission was to give his soldiers a taste of what it's like to fight, like what it's like to shoot their weapons at people. And so that's why he sent the soldiers in first. And then he sent the tanks in and the soldiers kind of simultaneously. So I guess to give the heavy weapons operator a chance to, what is it like to work these weapons out in the field? What is it like to drive these tanks out in the field? So that's what he did it that way. He wouldn't have been able to do that if he just sent mortars. And then by the time you realize that there's a significant actually killing his soldiers, it's too late. Now it's too late to do any of that stuff. And he actually doesn't want to do it. It takes his second in command to say, well, how about we just hit the hammer on the head? And he's like, you don't have to do anything fancy. Just hit it with the hammer, right? He said, my daddy used to say, or my uncle used to say, or somebody used to say, and he's trying to, the younger officer in charge does not know what to do with these anecdotes.
Oh, Gary Busey's, yeah. Mm-hmm.
He's like, what is that supposed to mean? And so that's when they decide to pull their forces back and then hit the soldiers from afar to destroy them. But like I said, it's too late because Todd is already on them and taking them out. There's also another thing that I noticed about the movie. They were called American forces instead of U.S. forces. So that's different. So there's some significant geological changes because it's written on, like, you might colloquially call them like American soldiers or American forces. You probably hear that on the news or somebody's like talking in the pub and they're talking like that, but they wouldn't have that written on their uniforms or on their official paperwork.
Okay.
They would always be referred to as U.S. forces or U.S. soldiers, United States soldiers, as opposed. But in this movie, they're American soldiers, so that would suggest in the future there was significant geological changes.
Good call.
Political changes.
Good call.
Like maybe there's not a Canada. Maybe it's all America. Maybe Latin America and North America becomes like one super government.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot to this, like this movie. I feel like I probably should watch it again because I probably missed a lot. There's a lot going on, but I liked it, but I didn't like it.
Right.
Good. I very much like Curtain It, but one other bit of trivia before we wrap up is that the tattoo on their faces.
Yeah.
So apparently Kurt had an allergic reaction to the ink that they used or like the makeup that they used to make it look like a tattoo. Right. And I don't know how accurate this is, but it said that because of that allergic reaction, you can still faintly see it like on his face now.
Oh my God.
Like in certain lights. I don't know if it was it's like a coloring that kind of discolored him a little bit. Something like that.
I think that most of the time he's like, when you see him in other movies, obviously they're going to cover it up with makeup. But so you would have to catch him out in real life where he probably doesn't tend to wear makeup. So,
and I think it's probably if this is true, it's probably super faint and only in certain lights, but
right. I bet he sees it. I bet he can see it every single time. Like when you get a scar on your own body, you can see it all the time.
Yeah, he's probably super pissed because he didn't want to do this movie. He said he took it for the paycheck. I'll take that $20 million for sure. Yeah.
And, well, he's so good in it. One of my favorite parts, and I'll just leave this, is that you have Jason Scott Lee, and he's in the tank and he's firing, he's calling the other tank. This is like near the end of battle. He's calling the other tank and he's saying, take this position. And the tank says affirmative. And he's like, you're still in that position. Take the other position. He says affirmative. And he's like, tank, you're going to collide with me. And he says affirmative. And it's
he can only do orders, like only the orders.
Right. That was so awesome. And because you don't know, all you hear is the voice on the radio, that the voice saying affirmative. And then when finally he says, you're about to collide with me. And you see Sergeant Todd. He says affirmative. Yeah, that's right. That was my plan. I'm going to run into you.
Yeah. I mean, there's cute little bits of humor. So how do you have any final thoughts about the movie? what do you think?
Oh, I still like it. Like, whenever I'm exploring a movie that I hadn't seen in a long time, I wonder how it's aged. I wonder if I'll like it the exact same way I liked it when I first saw it. Because sometimes it doesn't happen that way. Sometimes I can see where some things don't work today, like they worked back when the movie was first made or something like that. But in this case, not only did I still enjoy it the way I enjoyed it when it first came out, but I got a little bit more out of it watching it this time.
Oh, good.
Like, it's particularly the stuff I talked about with PTSD and how a soldier needs to fit in. It kind of have shades First Blood, where, cause this kind of reminded me of that, where Rambo's trying to fit back into society, and he's being harassed by Ashera. But in this case, it's kind of the opposite, where he's thrown away. He's trying to fit back into society, but he doesn't know how because he has severe PTSD. And unlike in First Blood, the people there are welcoming. They're really trying to make him comfortable, make him a home. And it's basically, he is challenged to fit into their world, and he's having a hard time. It's not that he doesn't want to, it's just that he's having a hard time, and they are not equipped really to help him with his programming, because he's deeply programmed in his old way of life. So I thought that was all fascinating, seeing that play out and me actually understanding what's going on, or the message and the themes that the director and the storytellers are trying to communicate.
Well said. I like that. Yeah. He's never really experienced kindness. Like they say mercy is, what is they like? They're like indoctrinated, like that mercy is bad, like weakness. Is that what they say? Mercy is weakness. So yeah. I mean, despite its financial failure, I can see why it has become like a cult favorite among people, especially like sci-fi fans. I really loved seeing this jacked version of Kurt in his late 40s. Can someone please deliver me his doppelganger to Denver? Anyone out there, bring Kurt to me. Yeah. So
it's kind of like a lot of these superhero movies, how you get these actors and there's like, you want to come back for this next superhero movie? And it was like, yeah, okay, I'll do it. And they're like 45 or close to 50 years old, and they still getting jacked up for these roles. And the most recent movie I was just talking about, Deadpool versus Wolverine, you have Hugh Jackman. I think he's 50 something. I know he's like probably close to 60. Yeah. And he's totally jacked in this movie, and it's amazing. And he says, "Oh, and a lot of these actors, they're like, oh yeah, I just got to train her and eat rice and chicken." It's like, yeah, you don't have to tell me you don't do any steroids, because I know you have to do it.
It's like the growth. It's like
human growth hormones.
Yeah. There's a certain look, like you can tell. Yeah.
I mean, I don't mind. He's not an athlete. He's not playing a sport.
Yeah.
He can take whatever he needs to take.
I agree. The
only person who has to deal with the consequences of those things are him. And they're relatively mild. It was like, you don't, it's not like he's going to, I've not heard of any consistent and serious effects from using performing enhancement drugs, especially when you're dealing with acting and stuff like that. Like if it's, obviously you don't really want to see it in the Olympics, but these guys are just acting. So, you know, you just do what you got to do in order to act.
I mean,
but it's the body transformation is amazing. And it was like, maybe I should, go for a walk every once in a while.
Oh my gosh. That's me when I watch the Rocky series. Like when I watch Rocky, I'm like, oh, why am I on the couch right now? I should be out exercising.
Absolutely.
Yep. Well, thank you so much for joining me to cover this. And I appreciate the recommendation, So I also want to thank you all for watching or listening to Retromade. Make sure you do all the things like follow me on Facebook, and make sure that you're, leaving a review and commenting on YouTube and all of the fun things to help me at Retromade. And Zoe, remind us where we can find Backlook Cinema.
You can find Backlook Cinema where you're listening to this right now. I'm available everywhere you can find podcasts, even on YouTube. There's an audio-only version on YouTube. Also, you can visit backlookcinema.com and come to the website and read the 2 or 3 blogs I got that's popped up over there. Or you can listen to the podcast, or you can shop my merch store.
Ooh, merch.
I'm not wearing one right now. I should have, but I like to draw, so I like to create t-shirt designs. So some of my designs
they're your designs. That's cool.
Yeah. That's one of my creative outlets, is through the store. So you can check it out at backlookcinema.com.
Awesome. Please do that. And until next time, be kind, rewind.